I apologize for that. We had a computer failure here. It dropped us right out. So everything's back up and running again. If you're still around, thank you for rejoining. If not, you can catch this in the videos later. Alright, where were we? I think we were getting ready to change the color for our vein. And pick up some Naples yellow into this pink we have here. And finish laying this in nicely here. Oops, touched a little bit too hard. And picked up too much of the red paint. Works its way over. Again on this one. Really about all we're going to see as far as the stark veins. A little bit of get this reshaped here so that I can make a finer line, but there's an indication of something right here. What I'm going to kind of do is blend the edge a little bit to marry the edges and to also thin down that the vein width. It's too wide. Needs a little bit of blending right here where it changes. this out here. Oops. Got the brush a little bit much right in here. Pick up some of this red and we'll just kind of clean that back up. This one really got out of control, so we'll bring that back down. Kind of closing up some little bits of canvas, well, surface that I left untouched. As I try to clean this up a little bit here, I'll try to pick up some cleaned up edges in a few spots. So we're gonna hit this. We're just gonna lay this down pretty thick here. Right along there. Blend that out. Let's blend some edges around here. Kind of marry everything together a little bit. Brush off probably to do that to best effect. And what did we decide we have going on over here? Looks like we gotta follow this a little bit more closely. And we're gonna pick up some of this highlight color and lay that in a few spots. Yeah, soften those edges up because this is actually just a bend in the leaf where it's catching more light. Just gotta blend this all out. We're catching some light in here. A little bit of this right here. Got a little bit more as I'm getting my leaf sticking up right here. And get a little bit of light captured along here. The highlights is only going to go where the leaf is in the light, so we're going to highlight right here on this. Bit of a fold here. You soften those edges up appropriately. We don't want them to appear to be painted on, but we want those to become part of the leaf itself. And there's a few up on this side of the leaf up in here, following this vein where the leaf is turned in towards the light as it curled. Thank you to those joining me today, and thank you to my subscribers. It's always nice to have people that like to paint along, share what they're doing. On Mondays we end up with a painterly direct painting. Wednesdays we started working on a little more detailed paintings and phases because it takes several hours to put together a really nice painting. And the more time you have to put into a painting, the more nuance you can add to the painting, which really lends to its believability. And a little bit of the leaf sticking up out here. So I'll go with clean my brush off here shortly and just start blending these together as best I can. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's too much in there. Let's get some of that out. Make sure your brush is fairly clean. You don't want it completely dry. It'll lift too much paint, but you want it to be not laying down paint values you didn't intend. Let's see which way are these. And you're blending the edges soft, soft, soft. Barely pressure at all. You're just picking up with a few hairs, a few bristles here and there, moving just a small amount of paint together. On these panel boards, that paint really slides. Doesn't get held in place near as much as a canvas will hold your paint in place. Which can be good and it can be bad. It means you gotta be very light on your pressures. pass on all of it. And some of the colors flow into each other. Try to make for some more believable transitions. Kind of follow the growth of the leaf itself as well. As they grow out from the center out. Try to capture that. So are you in an area that gets very cold in the winter? If so, are you all prepared for the winter, or like winter? Is it one of your favorites? I tend to like spring the best, I think. Just because everything goes from being brown and dormant to springing to life. I see someone's chatting here, sorry. Oh wow, you've had quite a life, Debbie. Like the story, Debbie. Yes, these panels, I buy the hardboard. I bought this one at Lowe's, but the hardware store. And cut them down. And then I apply the gesso. And I've actually found I like cutting it down just with a utility knife. I used a table saw for a lot of these panels, and that makes a lot of dust. You'll want to wear a respirator if you decide to use a saw to cut your panels down. But you can score it 4 or 5 times from either side with a utility knife, and that pretty much gets you through, and if not, it snaps off well enough. And then you can just touch up the edge a little bit if you need, if it's too rough. And then I lay down the gesso. Vertical one pass, horizontal next pass, then diagonal, each diagonal direction, so it kind of builds up some texture to it. I find the last pass seems to leave the most texture. And I was sanding between passes, but that took out too much of the texture for my taste, and added time, so I prefer to not sand between the layers. But it does take a lot of time, and when you get to where you're making a reasonable amount of money from your paintings themselves, it's really more practical just to buy the panels if you want to use panels. You can't control the surface. I mean, I like being able to control the surface more, so there is that, but you don't really save any money in the long run once your time is more valuable. Yes, this is very good gradient exercise, and I need to be looking at my reference a little more. I've kind of gone off from the reference a little bit and just kind of blending, and I'm losing some of my actual form. But it's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, we know what this is, and painterly style is actually sometimes more appreciated than realism. Just because realism, with photographs and prints, people don't know that it's actually painted. And that can actually hurt your acceptance. People are funny. You can work hard to really get your skills perfected, and then they stop being interested in your work because it looks like prints. It's like, yeah, it's supposed to. I've mastered it finally. Let's see here. This isn't showing as to what it's doing here, so I'm gonna give it some contour lines, if you will. Break it up a little bit. And that's why I like to paint in front of people, especially if you're setting up a booth somewhere to sell. It's really good to paint on site, because people see that you're painting and are interested in the painting you're working on right now, but understand they can't have that one, so they're often likely to buy another of your paintings you have on display. So, Debbie, have you gotten to paint along with any of these videos, or used the references anyway to paint your own version of them? Thank you. Hopefully when I put the drop shadow in behind, it'll actually even add more to the 3D appearance. Because it helps it hold its position in space better, that it's not just floating. Connect this vein up here. Clean off the brush. I'm getting a little bit of dark value blended in. Alright, it's so easy to push this paint around. It slides on these boards. haven't got to paint on one, I would buy one just to try the surface. It's actually very interesting how different of a surface it is versus canvas. This is where it's helpful to have someone reading the chat as you're painting, so you don't have to take your eyes off the work. But I appreciate all the chats. Thank you very much. And I will take time here to catch up on it. I think for interest of time, I'm going to have to move right into the shadow in the background here because we're already running close to our time limits. I'm going to change to a separate number 6 brush to pick up this shadow value for the leaf. Let's see what we're looking at here. Kind of loops down here. And at first this is going to look out of place, I think, until we get the yellow of the rest of the background in. Shadows sticking out. You'll have to tell me how well they work when you paint along. If there's I need to actually get some more time from somewhere. I haven't been able to find any in the store to buy. To go and actually put the contents links in these videos that are up and also create some condensed videos off of that, so that you can hop into a shorter version and jump around a little better. This pretty much fills this entire space back here. I know that's one of the things you had asked for specifically, was some links to certain parts in the video. I just need to find time to actually sit down, and maybe I'll get some time today, start doing at least some of the videos. So where else do we see some shadows? It looks like there's a little bit of one back in here. Okay, this sticks out a little bit like this. We have the stem casting its own little shadow. And I hope you enjoy the practice. Some of these references I think you could probably even use for assignments if you are in the Evolve program. If you're in Block 3 or even Block 2, if you take the reference and just work from the black and white version. That's going to be lightened up quite a bit when we get to the yellow. Now there is a spot here where there's a hole. I'm going to use number 2 brush for this. It's a very small spot in the leaf where we're looking through and seeing the shadow. It actually has a little bit of a lit up edge. Almost a bit of an outline on part of it. Some of this actually is the shadow. Down in here we've got a little bit of shadow showing through. And then we have shadow over here. Kind of matches the shape of the leaf almost. Kind of comes out, down a little bit, and curves around. Meets up with this part. And then comes back. Meets up in here. And then we come back up. This little lip. The interesting thing with the shadows is they don't exactly match, so you don't have to get it exactly right, just that it's there and as a placeholder. I mean, it's amazing just when people put a round shadow under an object how much that makes the object hold its space and stand out from the background. But you want to, for practice sake, do the best you can to match what's here in your reference. The thing that I actually liked about this picture is this little hole where the light gets through in the shadow. So you see the shadow here, but the light actually goes through that hole and you can see it in the shadow in the background. That's one of the things I found interesting about this image, actually. Oh, this comes out. But yeah, one day I hope to be able to make a living off of my paintings as well, off the painting process. So far I'm a long way from it. I got a lot of dependents to take care of, so I have to keep doing what I'm doing today, which is alright. There was a time it's what I wanted to do, so just things change over time. Oops. Yeah, let me do it this way. Keep that edge of the brush, keep my edge a little bit cleaner. Now, we would say that this hole is somewhere in this region, so I'm going to leave it in here. Since I painted it up here, we're going to put it right there. We can just connect this together. Make this a little bit fatter here. Clean this edge up here. Alright, so we basically just need to fill this in. Fairly consistent in its value back in the background. And this shadow. And once I connect it up, we'll see what we look like. And I would switch to a number 10 brush a lot of times here, but I need to use up what paint's on this brush. I'm running close to not having mixed up enough paint for this particular shadow. So if I'm a little sparing here, I should be alright. Every time you pick up a brush and change it, that brush holds a certain amount of paint that it's never going to make it to your painting. This is a hard roll. And it's not a big deal to have to remix the paint, it's just an extra step, an extra time lost. And when you get again where your time's pretty valuable, one of your most valuable assets that you're earning from, mixing a little extra paint, just so you'd have enough, actually having to throw some away, the time lost versus mixing new paint costs you more than throwing the paint away that you, when you mix enough and have extra left over. Plus you can use that paint to tone other boards. Find if you mix it all together you end up with a darker brownish gray. Hope I'm not blocking too much of the painting with my shoulder while I'm painting over here, because I keep putting my arm across. Well, thank you very much for joining me again today, Debbie. Makes the painting go much nicer when there's someone there watching at the same time, interacting. Less of a lonely process. Well, I kind of answer the chat while I paint, if I can, so that when you're watching live, you get something from being live versus just watching the videos and replay. Some interaction back with your questions or your comments. Otherwise, there's not much value in not just waiting till the whole video drops. And yeah, there will be great color studies. Don't match how I mix the colors so much as my colors are just kind of in the close enough realm for these paintings. And certainly not a perfect match. That's what I'm striving for, but I also try to limit it based on time, because you can spend quite a bit of time trying to match some difficult colors sometime. Alright. I think we need to move on to the background here. Make sure I don't have any spots that I actually completely left out of the shadow. Alright. And I'm not going to try to follow the fabric folds that are in the background. There's a little bit of folds there. What I tend to do is kind of divide up the background, and I'm using a 3/4 inch brush here today because it's a pretty, I'll use probably a number 6 when I get close to the edges, but this is going to use up more paint I think than I have prepared. Let's see, we're going to take this. I thought the yellow background really added a lot of warmth and contrast. Kind of made it feel more fall than if I had green or... Yep, gonna have to get some more paint out. Apologize for that. I dropped my brush onto my little table I have sitting over here. I'm going to bring this down. I'll bring a little bit of burnt umber back in and trying to match up the values with what I got back here. And I find also if I have to mix paint, especially for a background, it's better to kind of paint over what's there and blend it in so that you don't have the very obvious break in where you've mixed new colors versus your old colors. Because you may not have matched them perfectly, and that does tend to stand out, especially when you've covered this much surface area with it. So on Wednesday, we're going to continue with the second part of our slightly more detailed painting. That's the teddy bear holding a rose. We'll be painting the teddy bear this time itself, and then we'll paint the rose the next week and the background the following week. So if you're able to join me for that, that'd be wonderful. I don't know what realistic expectations for growing an audience on YouTube are. They've changed over time from what I understand, and we're fighting the algorithm all the time. And so people searching for videos are less likely to find newer, less liked videos than some of the older videos already out there on the same subjects. So I really don't know what to expect. But since I'm going to be painting anyway, it'll just grow as it grows. And we'll take that for what it is. Alright. Switch to a smaller brush to get these edges. So, use number 2 and clean that off and use that, get that yellow that's in the center back in there and in between that you can see in the shadow here where the light comes through. We're gonna soften the edges a little bit on this because it is further back. Get rid of some of this paint, I think. Be able to soften the edges better. one thing that's apparent, there's gradients in almost everything. The certain softness of the edges. Alright, let's get back to this. Interestingly enough, number 10s don't make the best edges. They're great for blending and gradients. They don't seem to hold their shape the best as far as putting in nice crisp lines. But since we're going to soften these edges a little bit, since it's a little bit further behind the leaf and out further in the distance, for what little distance we have, depth we have in this painting, it should work for the shadows anyway. And I may drop down to the number 2, closer into the leaf here. You don't want to leave, especially on this type of a painting, any of that white showing through. So it will break the immersion in your painting, the realism, quite a bit. Where are we at on time? We're getting close, so close to having to wrap it up here, so let's just speed this up a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't cost us too much in quality. If you don't have a maul stick, it's a good idea to make one. I'm about to switch to it, I think, here. It would really, I think, help with some of these edges, letting me hold closer to the board. I think I can get by without it today, but you'll probably definitely see me pull it out in this series at some point. Alright. For my mole stick, I just have a piece of dowel rod with some duct tape on the end. It's nothing fancy. Does the job, just keeps your hands off the painting. And there's some other things you can use it for. Helps take some of the shake away from your hand. For when you're working for very small, fine edges. And we're going to have to go over this to try to bring all of our brush strokes in line too. Right now I've got them going every which way. And that can also detract from your painting. Or, if you intended to put those brush strokes in, it can add to your painting. Add the texture to your painting that won't be present in prints. So, again, that's one of your competitors, is the print market. At the end of the day, most people just want a pretty picture. Some people like the fact that they can tell that it's been hand painted versus factory printed. And one of the ways they tell is by the texture and quality of your brush strokes. Watch the corruption from the leaf. I know I had talked about stepping down to number 2, but I think I've already burned enough time that we'll just take the result we get from the number 10 brush. Make sure you don't wipe out that little bit of shadow we added in down here. Looks like I did lay my hand on the painting at some point. You can see there. Don't want to do that. It leaves marks in your painting that you then have to go back and clean up. I'm going to go right over this shadow for the stem because it really is not laid in too dark right now, and so we're going to lighten that up some. Gotta clean the brush off after you do that, but that's okay. Alright. We're almost done closing on that final stretch here. Step on the front, sorry. I really want that bristle edge of the bristles to go along this stem. That's what I need to do to get that angle. Alternatively, you can turn the painting, but clean up some of the edges and try to get the brush strokes into a single direction, because that's what I intended for this painting. And then I'll sign it and we'll call it done. Hope you enjoyed the leaf today and are able to use it for your own paintings. We're able to enjoy the process of just putting the paint down, letting it blend. And just kind of relaxing. If you liked this video and you haven't done so yet, please click the like button. If you're not a subscriber and you're joining us for the first time today, hit that subscribe button so you can find out when we're going to be broadcasting the next time. Currently streaming at the same time on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I know if you're from North America, it's not your best time usually. Works well for Europeans at this time, but yeah. Clean that up now. Put some of that leaf right into the background. Alright, so let's kind of clean this up a little bit here. Nice, smooth strokes away from the leaf. Get things going in a similar direction here, and I'm pushing a little bit hard. Oh, that was good. Right into the shadow. So when you're doing this, you gotta make sure you're more careful than I've been. And there I go, laying my hand on the paint again. Just gonna draw the paint down. Got a piece of something in there. Just dragging across, leaving a trail. I would be very careful about using a fan brush over top of the painting, especially on hardboard, because the paint does slide and it's likely to push paint and smear it together and kind of ruin your painting. You definitely want to, it's something I haven't practiced on hardboard. I have practiced it on canvas some, and I would need to practice it before I would even consider doing it to a final finished painting. Would you find it useful to have a video on cutting down hardboard and gessoing it, or would that not be something anybody would be interested in seeing? Now I'm going to go along and lightly tap the edge here just to soften a little bit. Trying to be careful not to get too far out into the background or too far into the shadow. I know I talked about signing it next, but looking at this, it was kind of bothering me that this wasn't softened at all. Adding a little more painterly. Hopefully I'm not ruining it. It's one of those things you can see better when you're further away, so imagine the camera view. Sitting there going, no, you're ruining it. But it helps break it up a little bit from what's in the foreground here. I hope that's added something to the painting. Kind of hard to see it where I'm standing. And we got some. Alright. What shall we sign it with? I'm guessing we're going to sign it with some of this nice red down here in the corner. Maybe this mixture here. And I thank you very much for joining me. Today. And I hope you'll join me in the future.